Hello viewer, a warm welcome to Elimu TV where you watch and learn. Welcome to the 7th lesson of biology Form 2, and we are still on the same topic, transport systems, and today we are going to look at translocation. I'm your teacher, Madam Christine Okot. So let us have a preview of what we are going to discuss today in our lesson. First, we're going to review the previous assignment. We're going to define what translocation is. We're going to look at the structure and function of the phloem tissue because it's the one which is responsible for translocation. Then we're going to look at the ring experiment, and finally we're going to review the things we have talked about in transport in plants. Then lastly, I'm going to give you an assignment. So let us start by reviewing the previous assignment. Question number 1 was draw a labeled structure of xylem vessel, and that is the xylem vessel. So you have to draw the vessel and name the parts. So the parts, they consist of the two main structures in the xylem vessel. You have to name and label the vessel elements, then the tracheids. Then there are also the pits. Those are the pores or the perforation which are found alongside. Then we have the xylem fibers, and finally we have the xylem parenchyma cells. So question number 2 was state the forces that help in the uptake of water from the roots. So we have 5 forces which we discussed in the other lesson. So we have the cohesive force, that is the force of attraction between the water particles. Then we have the adhesive force, that is the force of attraction between unlike molecules, that is the water molecule and the walls of the xylem. Then we have the capillary force, the force that helps the water to move through the tube of xylem. Then we have the transpiration pull, and finally we have the root pressure. So let's get down to our business of the day, which is translocation. So we have to start by defining what is this translocation. So this is the transport of organic substance from one part of the plant to another. And take note, it is organic substance. So this process takes place in the phloem tissue in plants. Remember, we have talked about the xylem, and we said xylem is responsible for the transport of water from the roots to the leaves. Meanwhile, the phloem tissue is the one which is responsible for the transport of organic substances. So let's have a structure of the phloem tissue, what it's made up of. So first we have the sieve tube elements. Within it we have the sieve plates. Then in between the sieve plates we have the perforation between the plates. We have the companion cells, and we have the cytoplasm. So the main cells which make up, or the main components which make up the phloem, the main essential one, is the companion cell and the sieve tube elements. We're going to look at each of them and their functions. So let us start by looking at the sieve tube. We have an illustration there showing the sieve tube element just adjacent to the companion cells. So the sieve tube, they are made up of living tissues. They are made up of cells which we call the sieve element. So in the sieve elements, we are separated from each other by the structure we call the sieve plate. If you look at the illustration, you can locate where the sieve tube plates are. So these plates, they are made of perforation, or like the holes which are in between them. It's also made, we have the fine cytoplasmic strand that run through from one element to the other. So the cytoplasm does not have any nuclear and several other cell organelles. So there's no nuclear which is present, or any other organelle which is present in the cells. So they are made up of sieve tube plates with perforation, or the spores that help in translocation of the organic material. So that is sieve tube Then we have the companion cells. These are the cells that surround the sieve tube elements, which are normally known as the companion cells. So the companion cells, they keep their nuclear and other organelles through their lifetime. So like the other cells, like the sieve tube elements, they don't have the nuclear, but these ones, they have the nuclear, well-defined nuclear. Then they are so adjacent to the sieve plate because they work together. So they have a dense cytoplasm, that is a defined nuclear and other cell organisms. We're still looking at the companion cells. Then their main function is to generate energy, which is needed in the sieve element because they're supposed to be transporting the organic material. So they need energy for it to move from one plate to the other. So the material moves from one sieve element to another through the pores in the sieve plate. Hence, the energy which is generated is needed in this specific location. So these materials are transported in solution form in the cytoplasm of the sieves. First, it helps in the storage. So there are so many things that when you transport this organic material, they can be used for storage in various parts of the plant. So for example, if you make the organic material, let's say in the process of photosynthesis, the products which are made, which is the carbohydrates or the sugars, they can either be stored in the roots as the taproot. For example, the carrots, they use the roots to store the material. Then we have the stems, for example, the tubers, which is normally found in the potatoes. So by the process of translocation, it helps so that that material or that organic substance which has been made, it can be able to be transported to somewhere else within the plant for either storage in the roots or in the stem. Another reason why translocation is very important is it has to be used in different way. That material or that organic substance which has been made, like for example the sugars, they can either be used for respiration, that is the breaking down of material to release energy by the use of oxygen. Then they can also be used for growth. That material which is used, it's not only to be stored, but it can also be used for the growth of that specific plant. Then another reason or the other way in which it can be used, for example, of the plant tissues. For example, if there's a plant tissue which has been damaged or has been worn out, there are some substances which have been used, or they have to be transported to the specific site where the plant tissue has been damaged or has been worn out, so that it can repair the certain tissue or the specific cells. So let us look at the differences that we have between the phloem tissue and the xylem tissue. Now, if you look at their differences in terms of the structure where they are located within the plant, the phloem tissue just comes immediately after the cortex. Then the xylem is found within the pith. So you can look at the example there. We have the cortex. After the cortex, immediately you find the structure we call the phloem, which is responsible for the transport of the organic material. Then after the phloem, that is where you find the xylem vessel, the one which is responsible for the uptake of water. So that one is in terms of the difference of phloem and xylem in terms of their structure. Another difference is in terms of what they are made up of. For example, in the xylem tissue, the two main components of xylem are the vessel element and the tracheids. Then in the phloem tissue, the main components, we have the two, which is the companion cell and the sieve element. So that is in terms of the composition of the tissues. So that is just a breakdown of the composition. Like for example, in the xylem, we have the tracheids, we have the vessel elements, we have the xylem fibers, and we have the xylem parenchyma. Then in the phloem tissue, it is composed of the sieve element and the companion cell. Those are the key main. Then we have the phloem parenchyma and the phloem fibers. You can see there are differences in terms of composition. So let us look at the general differences between the two vessels. First, in the xylem tissue, the cells are normally dead, while in the phloem tissue, most of them are living cells. Then in terms of the cell wall, in the xylem, it is very thick, while in the phloem tissue, the cell walls are very thin. Then if you look at in terms of the cell walls, it is composed of the lignin material, that is the xylem, that helps it for rigidity. Then in the phloem tissue, it is made up of cellulose, that is the cell wall. The cell wall also is impermeable. That means there's nothing that can go in between. And in the phloem, the tissue, the cell wall, that is permeable. Things can pass in and out easily. Then in the cross walls, in the xylem tissue, we have none. But in the phloem tissue, we have the sieve plates that help in the transportation of the organic substances. In the xylem, we have no cytoplasm, whereas in the phloem tissue, the cytoplasm is present. Then in terms of their function, the xylem is responsible for the transport of water and the mineral salts. Phloem tissue is responsible for the transport of the sugars, which are the carbohydrates. So in terms of direction of flow, the xylem is upward, or it's known as unidirectional. It flows in one direction. The water from the roots to the leaves, it's upward, only one direction. Whereas in the phloem, the direction is bidirectional. That means it can flow in either two directions, either down or up. For example, if the sugars are synthesized in the leaves, which are up, then they are supposed to be stored at the roots or in the stem. The movement will be from up there to down. Then, in terms of the special features, the xylem have the fibers, whereas the phloem have the companion cells. So we have been discussing about the transport system, and we first started by looking at the transport system in the plant. So you should ask yourself, as we have reached here, are you in position to define and explain the importance of transport system? We started by defining a transport system. Then, are you in position to explain why multicellular organisms need elaborate transport system? Know the difference between the unicellular and the multicellular organism, how they transport their organisms or the things which are supposed to be transported, and try to explain or define what are some of the things which can be transported from one place to another within the organism. Then, you should also be able to, in a position to, define what is absorption of water and mineral salts, that is from the xylem tissues and the phloem. You're also in position to ask yourself if you can be able to define and explain the forces which are involved in the uptake of water. We have five of the forces which we discussed in the earlier lessons. So are you in position to state and explain how these forces work so that they can help in the uptake of water? Then try to ask yourself, as per now, are you in position to define the transpiration and state and explain the three types of transpiration? Whereas we have the stomatal, we have the cuticular, and we have the lenticular transpiration, and in which of these is water lost most? Then, are you in position to draw or name the structure of the xylem and phloem tissue and state the functions of the components which are found within the phloem? Then lastly, ask yourself, are you in position to define translocation and the process in which it is involved without flipping any pages? So, for our assignments today, we're going to deviate from the normal assignment and we're going to have fun today as we do our assignment. So today we're going to have a crossword puzzle. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. So across, you're supposed to answer and you fill in a 7-letter word. So this is a process by which root hair absorbs water from the soil. So find the correct word and fill in. That is 1 across. 5 across still. It transports organic substances in plants. It's a 6-letter word. 6 across. These are the pores which are found at the stem. The plants can lose water through them. We talked about them. It's an 8-letter word. Find it and fill it in the crossword. Then 7 across, the structure which are found on the leaf of the xerophytes that help to reduce loss of water. It's a 5-letter word. Then down, the first one, 2, it's the fluid, chiefly water with dissolved sugars and mineral salts that circulate in the vascular system of a plant. It's a 3-letter word. At 3 down, it's a unit of life that makes up a tissue. It's a 4-letter word, very common in biology. Then 4 down, a transport vessel in plants for the transport of water and mineral salts. It's a 5-letter word. Then lastly, 7 down, it is just the next layer of root beneath the epidermis. So that one is a 6-letter word. So find this word and we're going to review it at the next lesson. So that has been our lesson for today. Remember, you can give us your feedbacks, your questions, anything you'd like to write to us. Our Facebook page is Elimu TV. You can use our Twitter handle at Elimu_KE. And you can also write to us. Our SMS number is 22518. I have been your teacher, Madam Christine Okot. See you in the next lesson.